So I want to do a little video about a trip we took to Kentucky. As most of you know, there was a massive tornado that, in fact, 200 miles of tornado that took out a lot of the western part of Kentucky and 3 other states. We pulled some resources, pulled a team together, went down to help out for a few days, and I just wanted to kind of talk about it, give you a rundown, a timeline, where your money went for those who donated, and just kind of talk about the highlights of the trip. This was spurred on, I believe it was a Saturday after the tornado. I saw a notification on my phone for a YouTube video. He put out a message saying, hey, I'm going to Kentucky to help out. There's been a major storm. We're bringing chainsaws. We're providing food. If you want to help, follow the link, right? So it kind of spurred something in me saying, hey, what can we do? We're in New York. We are 16 hours away. Is this something that's achievable? So I kind of thought about Irene here. They hit Schoharie Valley and the outpouring of help from all over the nation. I met people from all sorts of states, Michigan and Pennsylvania, Ohio. And it kind of tickled me a little bit saying, hey, maybe we can do something. I looked into a little further. He is affiliated with Grindstone Ministries. They are a non-for-profit that does disaster relief. They work with sex trafficking victims, I believe. I'll try to post a little link to their website, and you can look into it more yourselves. They were the ones mobilizing down to the town of Benton to help out. So I messaged Grindstone directly, said, what can we do? We potentially can come down with some bodies and resources. What are your needs, and when do you need us? I also messaged some friends of mine that are part of a men's group, Bible study group, to say, hey, anybody interested? Is this something that we can pull off? I can't do it alone. By Sunday, I got a reply from one friend saying, hey, I'll go down with you. Let's bring some hamburgers. We'll take a pickup truck and a chainsaw, camp out for a few days and see what we can do. At that point, I hadn't heard from anyone from Grindstone. I don't think I had got a reply back from them yet. Monday morning, I kind of had a moment. I hit my knees. I said, God, if you want me to do this trip, I don't want to do it for pride, for glory, or for any of that. I want to make sure I'm helping people. So make the path clear. And I kind of left it at that. And I believe it was by noontime, I had talked to a couple friends of mine that are involved in missions and this type of element, that were like, hey, we'll help out. We'll help out with some money. We'll help out with some needs. I also got a message back from Grindstone saying, yeah, please come down. Here's a whole list of needs. We can set you up a little bit, but you're going to have to provide your own camp and food. However, yeah, please, we need bodies. We need food. On the other end, my other friend was working some stuff. He had mentioned to the church. The church is like, hey, we'll pitch in some funds, pay for some gas for you, and get you down there. So Monday was like an amazing day. It all kind of fell in my lap. Next thing you know, we had a U-Haul rented. We had donations coming in, and I hadn't really even asked anybody yet. My wife suggested putting a message on Facebook to our friends, local people, say, hey, anybody want to pitch in? We're going to try to load this thing up with food and water and tools and equipment. So it happened fast. It was right away. People responded, yeah, how can we help? What can we do? Where can we bring it? And over the next 24 hours, maybe a little longer, we had like $6,000 worth of donations, some given, some promised. We had 200 cases of water. We had a truckload of food. And it was amazing. It was amazing. It all just happened. And we hardly even had to ask. It just was a green light for me. I think it was Wednesday morning. We left on Thursday, so I think it was Wednesday morning, or it was potentially, yeah, it was Wednesday morning. I called the pastor at our church and said, hey, I got a little problem here. We're going to be going to Kentucky. We have like $6,000 of people's money, and we're renting a U-Haul to fill it and take with food and everything. The U-Haul is going to cost $2,000, and we're going to spend $1,000 in gas. And I was worried that we didn't have enough money left to really make this worth it. and I just didn't feel like it was the best way to use the funds. So next thing you know, without even a hesitation, our pastor said, take the church's trailer, take my pickup. He had a quad cab pickup, which was another answer to prayer, because we were able to take 3 more people. And it was without question. So we canceled the U-Haul and gave some thanks, because the pickup truck and the trailer were really going to help out. Grindstone had given us a list. Their primary mission was to feed 50 to 100 people per meal, twice a day, mostly law enforcement, rescue efforts, volunteers. So they wanted food like pastas and rices and ready to go ingredients, so they didn't really have to think about it. They were working out of a fire department kitchen and their own kind of temporary kitchen, like a field kitchen setup. So we went to Restaurant Depot to fill some of those orders. Again, pastas, beef. I think somebody had gave us, I think the church had given us, or our pastor had given us 60 pounds of frozen beef to take with us. So we got pasta sauce and rice and beans, a lot of number 10 cans of vegetables and so forth. Thursday evening, we loaded up the trailer. We put the 200 and some cases of water and all the number 10 cans of food and all the stuff in there. We're getting ready to leave. And we noticed that the trailer tires were like flat. The sidewalls were touching the gravel. So we took out about what we figured somewhere around 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of water, which kind of stunk because we were so happy that we had all this stuff, but we had to make it there. We got the trailer to a reasonable load, definitely maxed out, and took off. We left, I think, at 9:30 on Thursday night. The plan was to drive through the night, show up there Friday, and unload. I think we made it down to Ohio. We were about 8 hours into the trip. I believe it was somewhere around 5 o'clock in the morning. We did finally blow a tire on the trailer. The hard part about that was it was the highway. Luckily, we were near a city, but the only places we could find that carry trailer tires didn't open until 8 o'clock in the morning. So, needless to say, we got some waffles at an IHOP, kind of hung out, kind of rested a little bit, which was nice. Got the tire, got it changed on the side of the highway, back on track. We arrived at the fire department where Grindstone was staging in the Benton area, probably about 9:30 at night. These guys were kind of settling in, but we were able to get a team together, unloaded the trailer in about 20 minutes. So it was awesome. They opened up the doors to unload us, and there was already like aisles of food and water, pallets of water actually. It was pretty cool to see the amount of stuff these guys had pulled together already. And at that point, they told us they were feeding something like 600 people a day, when originally it was like 100. So that was only over a couple days that changed. So Saturday is the Sabbath for Grindstone Ministries. Grindstone was not doing any operations outside of the base. They were taking donations, collecting food still. They weren't doing any outside cleanup or debris removal or anything. We decided to take a little ride, see where we could be of use, and make the best of the day while we were down there. We ended up going to a church. The church pointed us to a middle school. We didn't end up at the middle school. We ended up going next door by accident to another church, which said, hey, they need bodies and help in Dawson Springs. Dawson's a small town outside of Benton. Actually, I think they're 40 minutes north of Benton or something like that. Anyway, Dawson Springs was leveled. It was right through the path of the tornado. So we ended up at their little office of emergency management. There was 3 people in there, spread very thin, trying to wrangle cats, so to speak. There were so many volunteers with stuff and the want to work. The problem was they had nowhere to put them. So they asked us if we could do a little recon for them, said, hey, here's some forms. Can you go to the homeowners of these properties that were devastated and just say, hey, get a signature so we can send volunteers there to do some cleanup. So we said, sure. It needed to be done. So we went outside of Dawson Springs to a couple roads that hadn't been touched yet. The power company had cleared most of the trees. They put up some new lines, but people's yards were still a mess. Their homes were leveled. We were able to contact a few of them and get phone numbers for the rest of the road. And in a nutshell, we got on 2 streets, we got all the signatures and permission from the homeowners to send volunteers in there. We brought that back to the Office of Emergency Management. They were beside themselves, so that was a huge help. It didn't seem like a lot to us because we only covered 2 roads, but it allowed him to then send like 50 volunteers, a couple excavators, and some machines over there. So that was huge. So Saturday evening, we wanted to do some more shopping. We still had, I think we had a couple $1,000s left at that point. We went to a like a bulk food supply warehouse. I think it was a Gordon's just across the Tennessee border, and a Walmart. Grindstone had a new list of needs. They were feeding, I think they were feeding 1,000 people at this point, so they still needed food. They also, I believe they took up a church. It was a mostly Spanish-speaking church that had been wiped out, and a lot of the residents need help. So they had a little bit more specific needs. We were able to fill some of that. Gordon's was awesome. They donated like a half a pallet of food. We were able to hit a Walmart and get all sorts of hygiene products, hair products, and a lot of stuff that people just don't have. You got to realize, their homes are gone. Their toothbrush, their shampoo, their soap, their clothes, and everything is strewn across miles. It's pretty incredible. A lot of churches and a lot of organizations were setting up basically a little store that people could go in and collect whatever they needed. Saturday night, we unloaded another haul, and at that point, Grindstone also gave us a room inside the Firehouse. Friday night, we slept in the trailer. It was a little chilly. It was kind of exciting, but having a nice warm room with some couches and a mattress was awesome. So Sunday, Grindstone was headed out to a small homestead that they kind of adopted to take care of. This lady didn't have insurance, kind of got devastated. Her trailer was wiped out. I believe some of her livestock was killed. You can check on Grindstone's videos for more information on that. So we spent about a half a day cleaning up her home and cutting up some trees. And it was such a good effort that we knocked it out of the park. So Saturday we actually had some time to go back to Dawson and do a little more cleanup. There was a guy there whose home was destroyed. They said this address needs help. So we went there and cleaned up. It was a really good day. It was productive. So the woman next door to the house we were cleaning up in Dawson had a pretty incredible story. She was laying in bed when this happened, when the tornado happened, and her roof disappeared, her walls went down. She found her phone and her dog and was able to crawl through the rubble to safety. Pretty incredible. I think it was her that said when the storm passed, all you could hear was screaming through the neighborhood, just to give you an idea of the power of this thing. And when you stand on top of the little town in Dawson, everything you can see is leveled. It's incredible, like nothing I've ever seen before. Sunday, Grindstone set out to battle some trees in East Marshall. East Marshall had a lot of big trees, a lot of oak trees, and a lot of down trees. One volunteer firefighter's house, big oak tree, basically cut it in half. I know that was one of their missions to clean that up. They sent us to another guy's house in the area to take down a few dangerous trees, kind of help him out. These volunteer firefighters are still running operations out of their firehouse, on top of dealing with all their own stuff. They're still responding to calls. These guys have the volunteer heart, and they're out there doing it, and they're burned out, so we were trying to give them a little bit of aid. So in the 3 days we were there, we did quite a bit. We burned a lot of chainsaw gas. We wrangled a lot of food. We broke the pastor's truck, maybe a little bit. And we were able to help some people out. So we came home Wednesday morning, feeling pretty tired, feeling pretty thankful that we still have a home to come home to. We still have our Christmas trees and our presents and our decorations, when we just left an area where all that was turned inside out and upside down and blown around. While we were down there, we really got to see how awesome people are. People from California, from New York, from Michigan, Texas, everywhere came to help out with what they had. Some people came in cars with a chainsaw. Some people came with truckloads of food. I think Grindstone moved something like 100 ton, and that was just one small effort and one small ministry. So you really got to see the good in people, and that's awesome. Sometimes we get caught up in the politics and the BS that goes on, and we forget that we do live in a blessed nation, and there's a lot of good people out there. We have some fascinating news from the devastation in Kentucky. The National Guard and everybody has been deployed, and they're helping out. But the freaking Ghostbusters are here.